got off the road from Lubbock late last night. Guys got in. We got a little bit of throwing in, and so today's a light day, optional day. Needs to be an off day per NCAA rules. So guys will come in, do some voluntary work around the yard, get ready to play Penn State on Wednesday in Maryland, and then we have a big series against Houston coming up.
Uh, Kevin, if you have a question, usually you do. If you can start with you.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, good deal. Hey, wanted to ask about the injury to Brody, and first of all, his prognosis, and second, how does that affect what you've been able to do in juggling the lineup around, getting different guys in, which has obviously been a big plus for you this year.
Yeah, so Brody's had his lower back, started with upper back tightness, and it's kind of moved down to lower back, and then it kind of got into his butt cheek a little bit, but it's just he's okay. He's just not able to swing with max velocity. So his rotational speed is down. So it's affecting his swing a little bit. If we were to throw him in there, he would compete, and if we were to put him on defense, he would compete, but he's not running the best he has. He doesn't feel great. And so we're trying to limit this from being the last 5 weeks of the season kind of going in the tank a little bit, like just trying to rip the Band-Aid off and get him healthy. So he's rehabbing. He's got a chiropractic appointment today where he will spend some time just trying to take care of himself. But it's forced us to play some different guys. Roball getting some starts at second base. We have some options and potentially putting Sean Smith in left field as well, who's been a DH traditionally. We just have a lot of versatile players. So we have options out there, just trying to figure out what the best thing is. Do you play for offense? Do you try to secure the ball early on and play great defense? And we've been able to mix and match. And we thought Roball gave us a good blend of both those things, being able to play defense in the middle, but also has had some great at bats and hit the ball as hard as anybody. And he's a young guy getting his feet wet with a really bright future. So we did some things that we hadn't done a ton of on Sunday, right? Like Roball started, then we played defense for him late with the lead, and then we put Kelly at second base from behind the dish, and Gravline went to catcher there late. And so we were able to do some things that I think ended up really helping us win that Sunday game. The first ball that the first pitch when Gavin was playing second base for the first pitch of that game was a slow roller up the middle that really required some aggression and range there. And so it has forced us to make some changes, and Brody's a great player. So we want him back in there, but we need him back in there when he's healthy.
Justin, we'll go to you.
Coach, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you, Justin?
Doing good. Hey, I wanted to ask you about Sean Smith and the way he's obviously turned his season around here. Really the last month or so. He was a guy I'm sure you had high hopes for going into the season, coming in through the portal. Kind of gets off to slow start, but he's obviously turned that around. So I'm just kind of take me through that journey with him, and then what leads you to stick with him even when he was struggling early.
So really, really great kid, really hard worker, consistent person. And the truth is he's just a hitter. So he's hit at every level that he's ever been at. I bet he's a career 365 hitter. He's played, this is now his fifth season of college baseball, 2 junior college seasons, 3 Division I seasons. And every step that he's taken in his career, he's hit. That's been the one non-negotiable. And so he hit this fall for us as well. So we always just believed that eventually things were going to drop. He was going to be in a good position. And the reality is that, he stepped up to a better level. He's facing better pitching than he's ever faced. He's facing nastier stuff. And not only is he facing better pitching, he's also hitting right in the middle of the order. And when you hit 4-hole in college, there's not always a ton of guys behind you to protect you all the time. So a big part of our team is protecting Gavin Kelly and making sure that people will throw to him. And so it would be a different story if Gavin Kelly was hitting behind Sean Smith. He'd get more pitches to hit. But he's just done an awesome job basically settling in and leading our team for this last month. And he'll continue to perform well because that's what he does.
And then another question I had, just looking at some of the Big 12 stats, a lot of great power hitters in the league this year. Seems like maybe even more this year than maybe, recent years. Obviously you've already faced the Harrison kid at Arizona State, but you got the Coates kid from Cincinnati coming up. You may see the Richie kid at Oklahoma State in the tournament or whatever. Is the Big 12 more of a power hitting conference this year? And how do you handle that with your pitchers and strategy wise on whether or not, do you pitch to Coates? I mean, after experiencing what you did with Harrison, do you pitch to Coates? I mean, how does that kind of affect your strategy moving forward?
Yeah, this league is extremely offensive right now. I think the three top home run hitters in the country are all in the Big 12.
Yeah,
So that's pretty crazy. Um, Ironically, we are the best pitching staff in the league and had the, I don't know, you'll have to check me on this, Justin, but we may have the least amount of home runs. So the Mountaineers are really bucking all the trends currently. We're really pitching. We're not hitting a lot of home runs, having good at bats. So our team is definitely built differently. And it may say more about our pitching staff than anything. We may have a better pitching staff than people are giving us credit for, even though that we're leading the league. Uh, we may have an elite pitching staff. We might have one of the best pitching staffs in the country. And I'm not saying that as a finite thing. I'm saying that we're going to continue to learn as we keep playing, and hopefully we play into the postseason. So I'm interested to see that. But we have had these starting pitchers that have gone deep into the games and done a really nice job keeping us in almost every game. It's the best starting pitching that we've had in my 11 years at West Virginia as far as the consistency. That's not really for question. And the fact that we're doing it against one of the most offensive, if not the most offensive league in the country, says something more to that. I think you raise a really good point, and you saw us intentionally walk Logan Hughes this weekend against
right.
Texas Tech. You've seen us intentionally walk Landon Hairston for Arizona State, Ezra McNaughton for BYU. In college baseball and in our league, there are some players that are significantly more impactful than the rest of their team. For example, I think Landon Hairston has more home runs than their entire team combined. And same with Coates. So you have some of these like outlier players that you have to weigh pitching to them. And so you don't want to have a lot of base runners, and you can't keep putting people on. And there's a psychological component to that as well. But the reality is that when you go into the game, you don't want Landon Hairston to beat you. You don't want Coates to beat you. You don't really want Gavin Kelly to beat you. And so you got to be smart. You got to decide when you want to take your chances. You got to look at trends. You got to see matchups. Logan Hughes for Texas Tech was kind of an interesting guy because he led their team in RBI and homers. And he was hitting 440 versus right-handed pitching, but he was hitting 217 with 2 homers against left-handed pitching. So he's a different guy. That doesn't mean that he won't hit a homer against a left-handed pitcher, but it does mean you're probably a lot more likely to take your chances. And so you just got to make sure you have that information and you play intelligently and you explain to the pitching staff. It's not a knock on your ability. It's playing intelligent baseball. It's playing chess, not checkers.
One last one. The Anderson kid at Penn State, comparable to the guys we just talked about?
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
He's got more homers than their entire team combined. So
Yeah.
he's just another one of those guys that is that outlier player for that club.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Greg, we'll go to you.
Morning, Steve. With regards to Chance and Cole, can you just talk a little bit about his response to what he's offered you since the struggles against BYU, and kind of been pretty consistent all year, but really these last 3 starts, had a little bit of the tough luck against UCF, but otherwise seems to be a big factor in that starting pitching success that you were speaking of.
Yeah, he's a star. And the craziest thing is, like, if you go across the league and you start looking at who's performing at high levels and who can do things like that, there's just not many people that can do that. It was 8 innings against the best offensive team in the league, and we made a few defensive miscues behind him. And so, like, giving a good team one additional out is hard. And there was a couple innings where, like, We probably could have got some outs. Maybe there were tough plays. Maybe Texas Tech scorekeepers gave him a hit, but I think we should have recorded the out. So like there was a couple innings where, they had 4 or 5 outs to play with, and he put up a 0. And so some of those like intangible things, even mentally being able to hold on to the confidence when maybe some plays aren't made behind you is super impressive. But also, you look at the league, like how many sophomores are able to do that? That's probably the biggest X factor. He's a kid that decided not to play summer ball this summer and come to West Virginia to train, to put on weight and develop physically, because he was like 180-pound freshman that was playing Division II baseball last year. So the jump that he's made is so tremendous, and we just haven't seen the best. So even though like maybe you could label it through some starts or maybe some struggles, I don't even know if that's fair, because for a sophomore coming from the level that he was at to pitching at where he's at now, to expect some sort of like straight line linear success or not to have something happen this season would be crazy. So I think he's just right where he needs to be. He's getting better. He's having great performances. He's gaining confidence. But the guy's a sophomore, so I think you're onto something, Greg. Like the kid's special. Like that's different what you're watching. It's not normal, and he's doing it at 87 to 90 miles an hour. And so if we can keep finding ways to develop his stuff, the movement patterns on the pitches are elite. And so if we can increase the velocity a little bit while he's able to continue gaining pitchability, he's a kid that can pitch and be really successful here.
Hertz, we'll go to you.
Yeah, hey Steve, it's Bob Hertzel. I've spent a good part of my life around some of the great hitters in baseball history and covering Major League Baseball and all that, and talking to them and watching them hit. I was wondering, I spent enough time to know that you just don't go up there and become a great hitter and hit. What is it that Kelly does that sets him aside, in not necessarily in his ability to hit, but in how he prepares to?
I think he holds a confidence and a mental edge over the large majority of hitters. And in a game that, when you're one of the best on our team, one of the best in the conference, one of the best in the country, when you fail more than half the time, it takes fortitude to be a good hitter. And I think from a very young age, he has understood and really handled the mental game of this. He also loves to hit. He views himself as a hitter. He understands his swing. He prepares to hit. He doesn't overcook his swing. So if things aren't going well, I don't think he ever works himself into a hole, which a lot of hitters do. If you experience failure, which is a natural thing in hitting, oftentimes players at our level will work until they're bad. And he has really learned how to work with an intent and a focus on the things that he needs to, and then essentially turn the page. He's able to take a bad batting practice and have a great game. He's able to have a great game and then go have a concentrated hitting session. He doesn't need the failure to motivate him. He kind of is just extremely consistent and has done a very good job with the mental game.
As a coach, how is it that you see a JJ Weatherholt or a Kelly in high school? You know that they're pretty good hitters, but they come to college freshman year, they don't hit 400 and the likes. Yet you came into this year saying that this kid's a star. Where does that come from? Where do you see that?
Probably comes from 15 years of only doing this. So the truth is probably experience of watching and being a student manager at Oklahoma State and being an average player. I've never thought, I was an average player that kind of worked my way through this whole thing. And so I was the guy doing film review. I was the guy setting up cameras. I was the guy watching. I got an opportunity when I was 27 to be a recruiting coordinator with no experience. And I sucked and I messed up and I recruited the wrong players and I recruited good players and I saw what transferred and what didn't. And not to be long-winded, it's just I think it's probably through a whole bunch of failure, some success, and then along the way, you start having a really good eye for some of the things that correlate to success at this level. And so I've been really lucky that there's been some kids in this region that we were able to identify early on that did some special things. And like you said, it's not always hitting 400. It's not always having a great average. It's not always having the best at bats early. I think you're starting to identify some of these things, and you just put together. I've recruited over 100 players, hundreds of players to come here. Thousands of players have been recruited. Hundreds have come here, and you miss and you succeed and you do everything in between. And so I just think watching baseball every day, all day, it's all we do. You just start to identify some of these little things that you think will click, and Gavin and JJ certainly had those.
Thank you.
Mike, what are you?
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Doing good. So, Mike.
I have a question about the BPC, if you don't mind. Just a couple things I was curious about.
Yeah.
You talked a couple of times about just, in between games, between series benefits. I guess, what does that look like? Like, where do you start? Who goes in? Who do you not want in there? I imagine it's hard to keep them out, and maybe you don't want everybody going in that microwave, but it does look like it's worked a couple times.
Yeah, so we'll throw pins in there. Like yesterday, we got off the road at Lubbock, and we were throwing pins inside there, and so we're using it on a regular basis. I think it's all a balance. Like sometimes you want guys to get into the mechanic side of it. Sometimes you need them to get into the compete side of it. Sometimes people want to use analytics or data as a crutch for why they're failing. But a good example is, we got off the road yesterday. Bryant Yoke didn't throw a bullpen. We got him in there. I'm sorry, he didn't throw this weekend. He needed to throw a bullpen, and Bryant Yoke got in there, and we wanted him to go game speed competition while there was a runner at second base. So we were pretending to be the middle infielders, and we were releasing him to pitch, and we were trying to really up the intensity of a bullpen. So as he's doing that, we're able to have some of the numbers. And so to be able to say, like, hey, you can do it with this intensity, being 1-3 to the plate, and you're able to throw 96 with 18 inches of horizontal movement on your fastball, whatever it is. So I think some reinforcement and some confidence of stuff, because the kids know that stuff plays, and so and they know what those numbers mean. And so if you have nasty stuff, and that's basically the stuff is the pitch movement and the velocity paired with the spin, right? If you have nasty stuff and you're in the zone and you can repeat your pitches, you're going to have success. So I think in the season, we'll use it more from a confidence standpoint. We have some other players that are making some adjustments that aren't pitching as much, that we said, okay, you're not getting in the game a ton. Where you're at's not quite good enough to crack the top 10 consistently. So we want to make some adjustments. We have a player on our team right now making an arm action adjustment. So he threw from more of a traditional over the top arm action, and we've dropped him about 5 inches lower. And that 5-inch lower drop that we can actually see in real time. It's not like, hey, go ahead, drop that arm down a little bit, bud. We can throw a pitch and say, that was 4 inches. That was 6 inches lower. Hey, that's sidearm. We don't want to be there. But we can look at the biomechanics of a player and say, all right, that 5-inch slot allows you to rotate differently. And oh, by the way, you just picked up 2 miles an hour on your fastball in one bullpen. Well, throwing harder is important. So like we just are always it's basically integrated into our system now. It's not like don't go in there or use it or don't use it. We're not scared of it. Sometimes we'll turn off the data because we don't think it's needed, for example, but it's pretty integrated. It's how we talk. It's how we operate. It's definitely part of this thing now.
I believe last week you said that Hall and Gravelin went in with Rosenter for BP the day of the game, and they've hit really well since then. Is it something where if a guy isn't doing good, you throw him in there? Or like you said, is it just a regular thing and that just happened to be a coincidence? They were in that day and they hit.
That's exactly what it was. So we weren't actually doing data capture, motion capture, or anything like that with Graveline and Hall. But they worked with them that morning, and it was more about feels and drills and thought process, but we actually weren't doing data collection. So when I said, I know exactly what you're talking about. When I said they were in the BPC this morning working, they were literally just cage work. It could have been outside.
Kevin, we'll go back to you.
Steve, it seems like this is a thing for this program going back to Maisie. Starters gone deep, comes back out to start another inning, and it seems like, okay, we're going to let him go until he gives up a hit or a walk or whatever. Is there any thought of the stress that that may put on a reliever, not being able to start with a clean inning and bases empty? Or is that something that you expect of your relievers? Hey, you've got to pitch with traffic on, and we want to see how far the starter can take us. If he's going well, hey, maybe he gives us 2 or 3 more batters.
No, it's a great question, and it's like the hindsight. So if Cole goes out and goes 8 pitches and throws a complete game, and we dump Gatorade on his head and celebrate with him on our shoulders, everyone's like unbelievable. And Cole says, "I didn't know I could throw a complete game in the Big 12," and he's a hero, and he views himself a little bit differently. But if he goes and it goes ground ball, single up the middle, hit by pitch, it's kind of like, why the hell did you start Cole in the ninth? That's stupid. So I think it's a catch-22. But in general, clean innings are easier for relievers, and that would have been a very, very easy spot to do it. We were up 10-1. So my judgment was that any reliever in a 10-1 ball game with some traffic would be in a good situation, as good as a team situation could be in. But I thought the benefit for Cole, who, when I looked him in the eyes and I said, how you feeling? He's like, I want the ball. I'm going to finish the game. It's like at that point when a guy just poured his guts on the mound for you and says he wants to finish a game, you kind of get out of the way. Like, you don't overmanage that situation. But this year's been a little bit tougher. I think last year was not the case of like what you're describing, because our innings leaders were, I believe, Bassinger and Estridge, that were bullpen guys, and our starting pitching was not doing what it was doing. So we had tons of like 3 and 4 inning starts last year. And so it was like, all right, those 3 innings were like kind of shaky. We survived, put Bass in the game. So we had a ton of these clean inning relief appearances that went way longer last season. And this year it's been a tougher situation because guys are going 5, 6, 7, 8. They're doing so well. They're keeping the other team off balance. So then you're going like, does the other team get life and fresh air? And like, oh, thank God, the guy who's been shoving for 7 innings is finally out of the game, right? There's some sort of like light at the end of this hell tunnel because the starting pitching has been so good. So yeah, I get what you're saying. I've like ran into that scenario a ton. And so clean innings are good, and there'll be some of those coming down the line. And I agree with you. Like, if you put yourself, it's a 3-1 ball game, and every time a guy comes in with man on first and second or bases loaded, like it's a tough thing to do. It's a really hard thing to do. And so you want some guys that can do it, but you're playing with fire.
Thanks.
Yep.
Justin, we'll go back to you.
Hey, Coach, one last one for me. I'm just kind of interested. Do you know anything about this park in Hagerstown you guys about to play in? And I know this is something that you have always kind of tried to do, play on the midweek games, to play home, away, and then find a neutral site. How difficult is it to find that neutral site? And what do you know about this place in Hagerstown? And I know in past years you've tried to get the pit game at PNC. That hasn't kind of worked out schedule wise the last couple of years. Is there any chance of that coming back?
Yes, I want to play as many good teams and regional opponents as humanly possible. I think in an ideal world, we'd play Pitt 3 times. We would play Penn State 3 times. We play Marshall. We would play Ohio State, Maryland. I want all those teams. Not all those teams agree with me in playing that, unfortunately. The Penn State series, this all started because we were unable to schedule 3 games with Pitt this year, unfortunately. So Penn State said, "Well, we would love to play you 3. We think it would be a great thing." The bus ride to Penn State is brutal, and so I don't know what that is, 3.5 or 4, maybe. Does that sound right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So if you play a night game, you play a 6 o'clock game or 6:30 game at Penn State, and you're done by 10 p.m. You're getting home at 2, and the guys have class, and then you're bouncing back for a big weekend series. So it kind of sucks, and you can't go earlier because everyone's trying to sell as many hot dogs as they can. So you end up just being in kind of a tough spot. So we agreed 1-1 was great. We'll both wear it in the pants for one of the long bus trips. But if we were able to find somewhere closer in between, we would love to do that. And so this park in Hagerstown, I've never been there. I don't know a ton about it, but I was told it was a $80 million downtown renovation project where they wanted to bring life to this downtown area. And this was going to be kind of the center hub for it. And they pitched us and had a great leadership team and management team. They ended up paying for buses, and essentially paid for us, both teams, to be there to put on this event. And then I've been told that it's been sold out for a long time. So really cool event for us. Save some hours on the bus. I think we'll be able to connect with a little bit of a different fan base in a different area. It's in Maryland, which is pretty unique, right? A team from Pennsylvania, a team from West Virginia playing in Maryland.
There you
But I
go.
love
Yeah.
it. I love it from like a recruiting perspective, like kids in that area, a different fan base can get to watch us play is really cool. And I'll keep fighting for that PNC game. We want to do that. I know the president of the Pirates wants us to go there too. It's just about matching up time wise with their schedule when they're playing and if Pitt is available.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Mike, we'll go back to you for the last question.
Steve, a lot of talk about your starters. Didn't see a whole lot of the bullpen, but maybe that's good. Cool them off a little bit. But just how are guys holding up as far as maintaining? Do you have a couple of guys you want to get more innings? Just I guess that's a large group that can't feature everybody. But where are things, and how do you feel about that bunch now?
Yeah, Perez has been electric all year. He showed this weekend that he was human. He didn't have his best outing. And so he's been working really hard. So he'll be back, but we need to just get him back in the game. Success or failure doesn't matter. He's just super talented and needs to be a big part of it down the stretch. So need to throw him back in the game. We got McDougal an outing. That's his second outing since coming back from injury. So he hasn't been sharp yet, but it takes a little bit of time. Need to get him cooking. Bassinger had 2 outings at Tech and was not his crispest either. And so we need to get him on the mound, him feeling good. Estridge is a huge piece of this and has been really good for us. Korn has been like the most stable guy probably throughout the whole year. He just continues to be excellent and his role continues to grow. We do have some young, hungry guys that are really talented that need to get in there that I'm really excited about. JT Huther, Weston Smith, they haven't had a ton of opportunities. Bryant Yoke, we just need to get those guys right back in there, right back cooking. Joshua Saragow. But like you said, that's the nature of the beast. If you have great starting pitching and they refuse to come out of the game, the bullpen won't pitch very much. So they understand that, and they're working to be ready when their name's called.